increased our investment in summer school through the NCAA's Student Athlete Special Assistance Fund to allow, I believe the last estimate was we have 112 students in summer school this summer. And these are not all students who are teetering on the edge of eligibility for the fall or academic success. Many of these are students who are trying to get ahead, trying to ensure that when they get to the end of their 4th or 5th year of eligibility, that they are graduating. So we've increased our investment there. We've also increased from that same fund from the NCAA the amount of money that we're putting into our tutorial services program so we can hire an adequate tutorial staff. We've allocated resources that have been provided by Southern University to contract out to consultants who can come in and provide us with programs for initial testing of students on the way in to diagnose whether they have any diagnosable learning disabilities or anything that's going to present a handicap to them in their first year, so we can identify those now and then get them the proper resources available to the university. And finally, we've reached out in a way more significant than has been reached out than we've reached out before to faculty and administrators on campus to challenge them to wrap their arms around student athletes in much the same manner that we do. So in a very short time, we've dramatically increased our commitment to Southern University student athletes in the area of academic success. It's beginning to bear out already. Our most recent APR scores for 2010 shows dramatic increases in a number of our sports. Several of them have pushed over the 950 level. The 925 level is commensurate with a 50% graduation rate. Okay, so if you're pushing up to 930, 940, 950, these are coaches doing a great job of recruiting the right kind of student athletes that they expect academic success from, and the department making the right kind of investment in it. We expect those numbers to continue to stabilize where they are already excellent and increase in the areas where we've struggled in the past few years. And we got some terrific news from the NCAA on that regard by the reclassification of Southern University as a low resource institution, which gives us now a 4-year probationary period to work towards a 930 APR score across the board. We expect that the resources that we've put in place will allow us to move fairly seamlessly towards that target by 2015-16. And in the meantime, the postseason ban on football has been lifted. The postseason ban on basketball has been lifted. So the great year that Southern's basketball team had last year, which had to end before we transitioned into the conference basketball tournament, that's over. We're eligible for that now. Okay. And any penalties that had been proposed previously for baseball, those have been wiped clean. So we go into the 2012-2013 year fully eligible for conference championships and postseason championships for the first time in several years at Southern University. A commitment to academic success garners you the opportunity to compete for those championships. So it's also important to us from a competitive success vantage point that we're committed to academic success. Final prong of my commitment to fundraising, okay? And that's everything from increasing ticket revenues, corporate sponsorships, in-kind gifts, anything that you can imagine, anything that saves us money on our expense side or generates us more resources on the revenue side. And my approach to fundraising and the successes that I've had in my career at fundraising have largely stemmed from the fact that I want people to express their love for Southern University or to express what they believe is a significant business opportunity for them in partnership with Southern University in the ways that they best see fit for themselves as an alumnus or for their business. Which means that if we go out and say, well, we only want cash, we only want these large corporate sponsors, we're going to turn our backs on a lot of smaller potential corporate sponsors. If we say we're just going to focus on corporate sponsorships and not small private donations, small annual private donations, $50, $100, $150 gifts in high volume can become the lifeblood of a department. And finally, in-kind gifts. When someone says, you know, I run a small business, and I don't have a $10,000 check that I can write, but I know that you need this for your department, or your student athletes may need this, or your coaches may need this, and I want to help. How can I help? Okay? And I will open the department's arms to any of those contributions. Okay? We are not in a strong enough financial position to be selective about the donations that we receive. Okay? So as long as I'm not cleaning blood money, okay, we're going to be very open-minded about whom we approach, okay? And that not just being alumni, that not just being businesses in the Black community, but that being an embracing and an approaching to the entire Baton Rouge community. Okay? We want Baton Rouge to be invested in Southern University, and the state of Louisiana to be invested in Southern University, the same way that Baton Rouge and the state of Louisiana are invested in institutions across the state. Okay? And in order to do that, I fully understand that there are relationships that I'm going to have to cultivate, relationships that I'm going to have to initiate, and relationships that I'm going to have to repair. And so I know that that's going to mean a lot of dead office plants, okay? And me walking out of, maybe I should just buy nicer shoes. I understand that you're probably thinking, this was a pair of Stacey Adams shoes. It wasn't like I got these shoes from Payless. These were nice. These were nice enough shoes. But I understand that dead office plants and me walking out of the soles of my shoes, trying to garner support for the department, it's probably going to be a part of my near-term and perhaps long-term future here at Southern University. But I also believe fully that the staff that I work with and the student athletes that I work for are worth it. And so those three goals that I stated that, you know, perhaps people probably thought that I was somewhat naive about on my way in, I can tell you are still the governing three categories of goals that I have, and they will continue to be in my term as athletic director.